Very good.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
All minds clear?
Right. I was just saying, watch that. Step back.
This is Deuteronomy or Devarim, chapter 6 at verse 4. Hear, O Yisrael, Yahuwah our Elohim, Yahuwah is one. Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Eloheinu.
Yahuwah Echad.
Yahuwah Echad.
This is Exodus or Shemot chapter 20 at verse 3. We will have no other mighty ones.
We will have no other mighty ones.
Against the Most High.
Against the Most High.
We will not make any carved image.
We will not make any carved image.
Or any likeness.
Or any likeness.
Of that which is in Shamaim above.
Of that which is in Shamaim above.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the earth beneath.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
Or which is in the waters under the earth.
We will not bow down to them.
We will not bow down to them.
Nor serve them.
Nor serve them.
Yahuwah El.
Yahuwah
is a jealous El.
Is a jealous El.
Visiting the wicked.
Visiting the wicked.
Of the fathers on the children.
Of the fathers on the children.
To the third and fourth generation.
To the third and fourth generation.
Those that hate him.
Those that hate him.
Showing kindness.
Showing kindness.
To thousands of those.
To thousands of those.
Who love us.
Who love us.
And keep his commandments.
And keep his commandments.
We will not bring the name.
We will not bring the name.
Yahuwah El.
Yahuwah El.
In vain.
In vain.
For Yahuwah will not leave us unpunished.
Will not leave us unpunished.
Who brings his name in vain.
Who brings his name in vain.
We will remember the Shabbat day.
We will remember the Shabbat day.
Keep it Kodesh.
To keep it Kodesh.
6 days we will labor.
6 days we will labor.
And do all our work.
And do all our work.
But the seventh day.
But the seventh day
is the Shabbat.
Is the Shabbat.
Yahuwah El.
Yahuwah El.
For in 6 days.
For in 6 days.
Yahuwah made Shamaim.
Yahuwah made Shamaim.
And the earth.
And the earth.
And the sea.
And the sea.
And all that is in them.
And all that is in them.
And rested the seventh day.
And rested the seventh day.
Therefore Yahuwah Barak the Shabbat day.
Therefore Yahuwah Barak the Shabbat day.
We will respect our fathers.
We will respect our fathers.
And our mothers.
And our mothers.
So that our days are long.
So that our days are long.
Upon the earth.
Upon the earth.
We will not murder.
We will not murder.
We will not commit adultery.
We will not commit adultery.
We will not steal.
We will not steal.
We will not bear false witness.
We will not bear false witness
Against our neighbor.
against our neighbors.
We will not covet.
We will not covet
anything.
anything
That is our neighbor.
that is our neighbor.
Father, Yah, we give thanks for this day, for the opportunity to gather together, Father, for your name's sake, Father, to give you the esteem, Father, the honor, Father, the praise, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that your Ruach, Father, will be with us on this day, Father. You'll give understanding unto the hearer and utterance unto the speaker, so that we all may be doers of your word, Father. Father, we pray for any soul who may be in transit, Father, that you would allow them to make it here safely, Father. We pray for every soul that is in this building, Father, that you would continue to open up your word, Father, without obstacle and without hindrance, Father, so that it may be received with gladness and thanksgiving. This and all these things, Father, we pray and we give thanks. Bashem Yehoah, Bekai Yehoshua, Hamashiach, Baruch Kodesh, so be it.
So be it.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so thank you. Watch your
Got some tape on it. This ain't no more. Survived this for years.
You know what, man? We can switch out.
I think I'm going to answer to you.
Shabbat shalom. Everybody doing? Excuse my my tardiness for today. It's with good reason. I assure you.
This meal that's all about to eat. Get the Chicago Bulls and all.
Here we go, man. Here we go. Nope. We ain't doing none of that. All right. Y'all know how we do. We always start off with a question. Question is, who in here is an actor? An actor. Actor?
An actor.
An actor.
Everybody played a movie.
Everybody is.
Everybody's an actor?
Yeah.
To some degree? Like Denzel Washington, right? So 1 minute he can play.
Okay.
1 minute he play in training day, right? He the cop, dirty cop, right? Next minute he play the equalizer. He the good guy, right? That type of actor, y'all that type of actor? No? Everybody got some acting in it. Okay. What about Will Smith? You know what I'm saying? He the super hard I am legend killing these things 1 minute. And then in the next minute, well, y'all know, one of them older movies that everybody hit him about, right? Who was an actor? Raise your hand.
Are you an actor?
Yes or no? Okay. Y'all familiar with a lady named Rachel Dolezal? Who knows about Rachel Dolezal?
Yeah.
What you know about it? Who? Give me something.
NAACP and all that.
NAACP. So Rachel Dolezal, right? Her last name is German, right? She's from the Republic of Europe. But this woman, since 2007, had been portraying herself to be a black woman, right? So good at it that she ended up heading a chapter of the NAACP, right? A full-blooded white woman, right? Y'all remember that story when it came out? Full-blooded white woman, a whole white woman. Every single day, got up, put her makeup on, sprayed her face with a little brown, put her hair in some braids, and portrayed herself to be a sister for 8 years. Right? 2015, she got found out. Right? They're like, oh, well, who was this guy in this picture with you? And it turned out to be her father. It was like, so are you white? She walked off. She didn't want to answer. So they interviewed her parents. It was like, look, are y'all her parent? Like, yeah. She ain't got not one drop of black in her. Right? Now the show is up. 8 years, she's convinced the world that she was black. But who couldn't she convince? She couldn't convince herself. Right? 2002, I found out that she sued Howard University for discrimination against her because she was white. So when being white worked for her, she used it. And when being black worked for her, she used it. Even after she got found out, she changed her name to Nekhi Diallo. Right? In 2016 or something like that, they said she changed her name to Nekhi Diallo. Now, if anybody familiar with the last name Diallo, it's a Fulani name, right? African descent. Fulani, right? So not only did she portray herself to be a black person, but now she legally changed her name to somebody that's black, right? She told reporters that, yes, I am a white woman, but I resonate as a black person. So I said all that and gave that story to say this. No matter who you think you are, you can't fool yourself. And who else can't you fool? You can't fool the Most High. From 2007 to 2015, that white woman was a white woman. Now, which brings us to the word that Brother Larry brought up. Right? An actor or a stage player is actually a hypocrite. Right? So you can be a hypocrite in word and deed, or just in word. Right? I'll give y'all a little background on this word hypocrite before we start. So hypocrite comes from the Greek G5273, right? And it means to be an actor under an assumed character or a stage player. How many of y'all are a stage player? You said you was an actor, right? That would mean you a stage player, right? Putting on a mask. If you're putting on a mask or becoming a stage player, that means you're trying to conceal what? Your true identity. So when she woke up and put that makeup on every morning, she was trying to conceal the fact that she was actually a white woman. But the fact of the matter is, she still was a white woman, right? We're not knocking you because you white. We knocking you because you was acting like you was black. So what does the Most High look at us like if we're portraying to be righteous and we not? As an actor or a stage player. A hypocrite, right? The other word that's used in this definition is dissembler. Anybody know what dissembler means? Like it seemed like it'd be to break something up, disassemble something. It says a person who professes a belief or opinions that he or she does not hold in order to conceal his or her true feelings or motives. Synonym, a phony or a pretender. So we said everybody got actor in them, right? I mean, everybody would have some pretender in them. Everybody will have some phony in them. Everybody will have some hypocrite in them. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on the situation. We're going to see. So, I went a little further into this word, right? Into the etymology of the word. The etymology says, according to the etymology, this word hypocrite is to pretend. Scholars say that this word hypocrite in the Greek and its derivative has no word nor concept in the Old Testament. What is that saying? Huh? It didn't exist in the Old Testament, nor the concept of this word existed in the Old Testament. This is what the scholars are saying. This is the type of stuff that will get people to thinking this New Testament stuff is fake. Because there is a whole word and concept here that did not exist in the Old Testament. Right? They said, in fact, they believe that hypocrisy is a foreign concept to the old Hebraic thought. Now, what is a hypocrite? An actor, stage player, somebody who pretends. Is that something foreign to the Old Testament? Get Isaiah chapter 29. Pick it up at the 13th verse.
Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the master saith, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their hearts far from me, and the fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
That sound like an actor to you? Sound like a hypocrite? They say what they draw to me with their mouth, with their lips, they do honor me, but their heart is far from me. That sound like that concept is in the Old Testament? You see that? Okay. Remember, just a second ago, I said, well, it depends on what you're being a hypocrite for. What are you stage playing for, right? What are you acting about, right? What if I said that begs to differ in the scripture? That there should be no part hypocrite in you whatsoever. What would you say? You'd be like, man, show me. Right? Job 15. Pick it up at verse 34. And then we're going to get into some stuff. The book of Job. 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 The book of Job. The book of 9 to 5.
I'm saying that the times is wicked because they didn't announce that, defined it as transracial. You know what I mean?
Right.
Transracial is like transgender, but it's a new thing of being a different race than you are, and it's accepted.
Wow.
There's a lot of people out here living like that. Instagram, all the new pictures of a female painting themselves,
Tanning.
and braids and stuff.
Wow.
It's all fun and games till they get skin cancer.
See, the crazy thing is transracial, transgender. Like, I seen a brother a couple years ago. We was out preaching, man, and he was a homosexual and gearing himself up to be, transgender or whatever. And I said, brother, what is that shadow on your face? He said, what you talking about? I said, right there. The thing you got to keep cutting down every other week. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's just my beard. I said, I know. You pretending to be a woman, but your body won't let you. You know what I'm saying? So even though he can come out with his hair shaved, makeup on, and look like a woman to somebody else, guess what he got to do when he go home and them hair starts to grow out his face? He got to shave it. Bring him right back down to being a man. Right?
I'm gonna get that laser. So it won't come back. Now what?
That's the thing, though. You still a man. You can get all the sex changes you want, the laser hair removal, the hormone changes. Guess what? You still what you are. But we gotta get to this. Job 15, pick it up at verse 34.
Job chapter 15 and verse 34. For the congregation of the hypocrites.
The congregation of the who?
Hypocrites.
What?
Shall be desolate.
It said the congregation of the hypocrites shall be desolate. So when you look at this word hypocrite right here, go into that.
From the Hebrew word 8:26-11. Hypocrite, hypocritical, godless, profane, hypocrite, irreligious.
So it's going to be lawless or godless, right? Hypocritical, right? They say, oh man, see, this concept is not the same type of concept as being an actor or a stage player or something to that effect. But we actually gonna see that. If you're being a hypocrite, you actually practicing lawlessness. We're gonna see that though. Let's jump into a couple examples. We're gonna come back to this. Get Galatians chapter 2. Get Galatians chapter 2, we're gonna pick it up at verse 1. Anybody familiar about why Paul and Peter got the beefing? One of the times they got the beefing.
Peter was acting like he was better than the Gentiles. When he was separating himself from them at times.
Exactly.
From the other Hebrews and stuff.
Exactly. So let's peer into that. Galatians chapter 2, and pick it up at verse 1.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse 1. Then 14 years after I went up again to Jerusalem with Barnabas and took Titus with me also. And I went up by revelation and communicated unto them the good news which I preached among the Gentiles, but privately to them which were of reputation, lest by any means I should run or had run in vain.
All right, stop right there. He said he went up and he was preaching to the Gentiles. He was excited about what he was doing. He's converting these Gentiles, right? He said, but when I went to go and tell people about this, I went to talk to people of reputation or men of good character. And he told them privately, so what he was doing wouldn't be in vain. He didn't want to puff himself up, right? Announcing it, man, we out here waking up the whole world. We waking up everybody. Right? If it wasn't for us, would none of y'all be woke. None of y'all to know these scriptures. He didn't do that. He went to his homeboys privately. Man, look at what we're doing, man. I'm glad that the Most High has given us this opportunity to do this and that, right? But who did he say he had with him?
He had Barnabas and Titus.
Yeah, Titus and Barnabas with him, right? So let's walk into this story. Go back where you left off at.
Verse 3, but neither Titus, who was with me, being a Greek, was compelled to be circumcised. And that because of false brethren, unawares brought in, who came in privately to spy out our liberty.
They was trying to figure out what the heck they doing over there. This dude that's a Greek ain't got to be circumcised, right? Read.
To spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach, that they might bring us into bondage, to whom we gave place by subject, no, not for an hour, that the truth of the good news might continue with you, but of these who seem to be somewhat whatsoever they were, it maketh no matter to me. Elohim accepteth no man's person.
They say it ain't matter who they were, who they thought they was coming up checking us. It don't matter to me, because the Most High ain't no respecter of persons. We all brothers, right? It don't matter if you come to me and you try to tower yourself over me. I'm elder such and such. I'm deacon such and such. I'm captain such and such. Man, we all brothers, man. We on the same playing field, right? Read.
Man's person, for they who seem to be somewhat in conference added nothing to me, but contrawise, when they saw that the good news of the uncircumcision was committed unto me, as the good news of circumcision was unto Peter. For he that wrought effectually in Peter to the apostleship of the circumcision, the same was mighty in me toward the Gentiles.
So he said basically the same way that Peter was sent out to the circumcision, and how much he did for the people of the circumcision, I was sent in that same manner to the uncircumcised, to the Gentiles. Right? Go ahead.
And when James and Cephas and John was seen to be pillars perceived.
He said, and when James, Kepha, and John, who seem to be pillars, do anybody know who Kepha is right here? Peter, right? He said, when James, Peter, or Kepha, and John seem to be pillars, they seem to be those guys, right? Read.
Pillars, and perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of fellowship.
So when they see me and Barnabas, they like, man, yeah, good job. Keep doing what you're doing, right? Y'all go out, handle y'all business. Y'all go and preach the gospel like you supposed to be preached. They gave him the right hand of fellowship, right? Read.
That we should go unto the heathens, and they unto the circumcision. Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same, which I also was forward to do.
He said, just the only thing that they said was, look, man, remember to look out for the poor when you go out and preach. He was like, I was already going to do that, right? So this is just a background story on what's going on right here and what it's leading up to, right? Go ahead.
Only they would that we should remember the poor, the same which I also was forward to do. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to his face.
He said, I did what?
I withstood him to the face.
When Peter came to Antioch, I had to go check him. Read.
Because he was to be blamed.
He was what?
To be blamed.
Now, as saints of the Most High, he told us to be perfect like our Father in Shamayim, right? What does that perfect mean, B? It means to be blameless, right? So he had to go check Peter, one of the pillars of the gospel, one of the people that's been there and walked with Mashiach, he had to go check him because he was to be blamed. Jump over to Philippians chapter 2, verse 15.
Was that Peter talking?
That was Paul.
Oh,
That's Paul talking this whole time.
okay.
So he like, man, I had to go and check Peter. You know what I'm saying? You're tripping, right? 2 and 15. Actually, pick it up at verse 13. Philippians 2 and 13.
Philippians 2:13. For it is Elohim which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure.
So it's anything that you're doing as far as preaching the gospel, keeping the commandments, it's of the Most High himself, right? Read.
Do all things without murmuring and disputing,
He said you're supposed to do these things without murmuring, without disputing. Go ahead.
that you may be blameless
Mm-hmm.
and harmless,
Mhm.
the sons of Elohim without rebuke in the midst of the crooked.
He said that you're supposed to be blameless in the midst of the crooked, right? So in front of all of these people, you the ones who's supposed to be upholding the gospel. But nobody should be able to look at you and say, well, what about you doing this? What about you doing that? Because at that point in time, you being a what? A hypocrite. Right? Read.
Without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation,
Mm-hmm.
among whom ye shine as lights in the world, holding forth the word of life, that I may rejoice in the day of Mashiach, that I have not run in vain, neither labored in vain.
So he says that you're supposed to remain blameless. You're supposed to be without rebuke in front of these people that you're trying to bring light to, right? This is how you look forward to the day of Mashiach coming. Because if you going around these people shedding the light on them, we supposed to do this, we supposed to do that, we supposed to do this, we supposed to do that. And then they look at you and say, well, what about this? You ain't doing that. How you telling me to keep the commandments? You ain't keeping the Sabbath. Then you say you worked last Saturday? Right? How you telling me I'm supposed to love my brother and then you hate that dude over there that say he from this particular camp or that particular camp? Right? If they can look at you and you not blameless in their sight, then you're not bringing light to the darkness. You just adding darkness to darkness. Right? Because it said there's nothing for Satan's people to be what? To be looked at as a beacon of light, right? They can look like it all they want to, but they're not really light. What verse is that?
17, no.
Jump over to 2 Peter chapter 3. Pick it up at verse 14. Yep.
2 Peter chapter 3, verse 14. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blameless.
He said that you what?
That you be, wherefore, beloved,
Start at
seeing
verse
that-
13. Start at verse 13.
13. Nevertheless, we are according to his promise. Look for the new Shamaim and the new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness. Wherefore, beloved, seeing that you look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and
He
blameless.
said that you may be found of who? Who is the him? Mashiach. When he come back, that you be found what? Blameless. Now imagine Peter is getting rolled up on in Antioch by Paul, and he said he is to be what? Blamed. Imagine if that was Mashiach that rolled up on him. And he said, on you, you the rock of my congregation. On you I set my rock. And when he come, and he in front of him, and he's found blamed instead of blameless, that's something different, right? He better be lucky it was just Paul that rolled up on him this time. Same thing with us. If you have anything in you that will cause you to be blamed in front of the people that you're trying to be a beacon of light to, you need to switch it up ASAP. Because you really only being a stage player, an actor, putting on a mask. Let's go back to Galatians, chapter 2. Y'all with me still? All right. So y'all with me still? Galatians chapter 2, pick it up at verse 11 again.
Galatians chapter 2, verse 11. But when Peter was come to Antioch, I withstood him to the face, because he was to be blamed. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
Doing what?
He withdrew.
So he's sitting with the Gentiles, eating with the Gentiles. Now all of a sudden the circumcision come around. And he like, I don't know them. So what's up, bro? You good? Man, that's your plate over there? That's your plate? Right? No, that ain't my plate, bro. I don't know them over there.
That's what Peter knows.
Don't step on them. Right? But it says that Peter was fearing them of the circumcision. Not Peter that grabbed the sword out and cut my man's ear off. Not Peter said, no, they're going to have to kill me too. Not that Peter. Right? But see, it's a different type of fear right here. You know what Peter feared? Peter feared what they thought about him. Right? And that's what a lot of us do. You ain't got to say that it's you, but that's what a lot of us do. We fear what people are going to say about us. We fear what people think about us when we come around and we professing our righteousness, or we professing the Most High. We afraid that if we walk around with these fringes on, or these what they call strings hanging from it, people going to look at us weird. We afraid to tell people, no, I don't do that. No, I'm separating myself from that. We afraid of that because of what people going to think of us. You know what I'm saying? I looked at this little seminar. This dude was saying, why do people pretend? And he was saying, because people want to be a part of something, right? No matter where you are, you might have family at home that love you, but your want to be a part of something will make you join the gang. You know what I'm saying? So Peter was afraid that these people that are circumcision was going to look at him crazy, like, oh, what you doing with them Gentiles over there, bro? Kind of the same type of deal where he was looking outside where they was taking Mashiach, and they was like, hey, don't you one of them cats that rolled around with that Yeshua cat? No, man, I don't know him. What you mean you don't know him? He was acting to the point where he got to cussing him out. I don't know that mother. He was being an actor, a hypocrite, because he knew him. Right? Verse 12 again.
Verse 12. And the other Israelites disassembled likewise with him, insomuch that Barnabas also was carried away.
That was verse 13. Verse 12 again.
Verse 12. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with the Gentiles. But when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision.
So he separated himself from the Gentiles. Why is this wrong with Peter? What makes this wrong with Peter specifically?
He's walking with Mashiach. Mashiach sat with people who are not who are sinners, so to speak. Supposed to have better learning.
Not quite. You said he was a sinner himself? Nope. We're talking about Gentiles now. Why was that wrong, what he did?
He's the rock of the church.
Hold on now. What you about to say? Because he was the rock? Nope. What was you about to say? Because he was afraid? Nope, that's not what made it wrong. Let's jump back. Acts the 10th chapter in the first verse. What made this wrong that Peter withdrew himself, specifically to Peter? What made it wrong for him to withdraw himself from the Gentiles at this point?
Because Yahweh came to him in a vision,
Boom.
came to him in a vision, and he's going to reveal the truth to him that we can go ahead and talk to him.
Absolutely.
Ding, 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 ding.
This is the reason why it was specifically wrong for Peter. Acts the 10th chapter, pick it up at the first verse. Acts 10 and 1.
Acts chapter 10, verse 1. There was a certain man of Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man.
A who?
A devout man,
Yeah.
and one that feared Elohim with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and praised Elohim always. He saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour.
Now, a lot of people is going to say that this centurion Cornelius is an Israelite. I'm not about to go into great detail about that today. We're going to use Peter's own words to deal with this. We just ain't got enough time, man. We ain't got enough time to go through that. But let's just look at the account. I think we did kind of hit this before. But that's neither here nor there. So a lot of people say that Cornelius was an Israelite. We are under the belief that he is a Gentile. We're going to leave it at that for right now. So what was that? That was verse 1 and 2. Pick it up at verse 15. So Peter had this vision, right? Matter of fact, let's go through the vision just in case people don't know it. Pick it up at verse. Pick it up at verse 10. Actually, verse 9.
Acts chapter 10, verse 9.
So the Most High then came to these Gentiles and say, look, I need y'all to go and holler at my man Peter. Right? Now, let's see what happened over here.
Acts chapter 10, verse 9. And on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry.
He did what now?
He became very hungry.
Peter was hungry before when he got to praying, right? Read.
And would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance.
He fell into a what?
A trance.
So now, remember when B was talking about how to pray? How long do you think this man was sitting up there praying? Well, he was hungry and fell into a trance. Had to be. It wasn't just no, Father, thank you for bringing us to this place. Thank you for the food we're about to eat. So be it. It wasn't that. He was in fervent prayer, right? But he said he fell into the trance with what on his mind? Food on his mind. All right, go ahead.
And saw Shamaim opened, and certain vessels descending unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and the fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat.
Wait a minute. So he fell asleep thinking about food, and it just so happened that his vision had to deal with what? With food. But this is right here is really just talking about we can eat everything. That's really what it's saying. No, that's not what it's saying. Keep reading. So he said he seen all of these four-footed beasts, all this type of stuff. He said, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. Go ahead.
But Peter said, Not so, master, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, What Elohim hath cleansed, that call not thou common. This was done 3 times, and the vessel was received up again into Shamaim.
So people stop right here and say, look, see, he said, what the Most High hath cleansed, you can't call common, right? So people would say, well, look, see, this is where he made sure that all of the meats and stuff was clean. And then they stop right here. That ain't what took place. Keep reading.
Verse 17. Now while Peter doubted in himself what the vision which he had seen,
He said, now Peter did what now?
doubted in himself.
So you gonna stop right there and say that that's what it's talking about. When Peter, after he had the vision, said that he doubted in himself what it was talking about. It don't work like that. You got to keep on reading. Let's get the understanding. Go ahead.
Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate.
So now here come these Gentiles, right? They coming to come see Peter. We're going to move through the story, pick it up at verse 27.
Verse 27.
Actually, verse 25. 24. Pick it up at verse 20. Pick it up at the same verse we just left off. Now just playing. Pick it up at verse 24.
Verse 24. And the morrow after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and he had called together his kinsmen and near friends.
So he go back to this Gentile spot where they was at, right? Read.
And as for Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him.
So you know how these cats be like, get down at my feet, Gentile, kiss my boot. These what these people was doing, right? They fell down and worshiped at Peter's feet. But what did he do? Read.
But Peter took him up, saying, stand up. I myself also am a man.
What is you doing down there worshiping me? I'm a man too. Look. Well, you got Israelites out here that make these people get down and kiss their shoes. Right? Because they say that they believe this book, but don't follow the actions. That's a hypocrite. Keep reading them.
And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that would come together.
So not only did he go and see this one Gentile, but he seen many of them. Right? Read.
And he said unto them, you know how this is an unlawful thing for a man that is an Israelite to keep company or to come unto one of another nation.
Of a who?
Of another nation.
Of another part of Israel.
Another nation.
Of another nation. No, brother, that nation right there is really just this, and it just means this and that. It say of another nation. It's talking about a Gentile, somebody that is a stranger to the nation of Israel. It didn't say of another tribe. It said of another nation. Read.
But Elohim have shewed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
He said what?
That Elohim have showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
The Most High showed him this. You get Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 right quick. Keep reading where you at.
Therefore came I unto you without gainsaying. As soon as I was sent forth, I asked therefore for what intent ye have sent for me. And Cornelius said, for days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house.
Drop down to verse 34.
Verse 34. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Oh, of a truth, I perceive that Elohim is no respecter of persons.
So this whole dream was about him not calling these Gentiles common or unclean. That it not be unlawful for him to be around these Gentiles, right? Now, Matthew chapter 12, verse 36. Now, Peter said this out of his own mouth, yes? Go ahead.
Book of
Matthew chapter 12, verse 36.
The book of Matthew, chapter 12, and verse 36. But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof.
So when he said that the Most High said not to call men common or unclean, when he said that the Most High said that he perceived that the Most High is not a respecter of person, showing that whether you a Gentile or you an Israelite, if you about his word and you devout on his word, then we can kick it. When he said that out of his mouth, he put himself into this category right here. 12 and 36 again.
But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by
Go ahead.
Your word you shall be justified, and by your words you shall be condemned.
So now when Paul roll up on Peter and say, yo, I got to come at you face to face because you are to be blamed, it's because you was already showed the way. He came to you personally and told you that these people was A1 for you to be around and for you to deal with. So why front on them? It's like being, you see those movies where you got the crowd of the weirdos, so to speak, or the nerds, right? And it's one out of that crowd that get picked by the cool kids to come hang with them. And they all go to lunch together. And the friends that were the nerds, they come over there with their friend. He's like, oh man, his homie's like, yo, you know these people? He's like, no, I don't know them. I don't know them. Yeah, man, y'all go ahead about your business. Nobody ever thinks about how it feels on the side of that friend. Like,
Sad music, come on.
You don't know me? Your mama cook tacos every Wednesday.
That's a movie with Nick Cannon.
You don't know me? You still got Power Rangers pictures in your room. You don't know me? Right? So now, when the gospel is preached, like he just preached to these Gentiles right here, and we flip down the road, and he around Gentiles and Israelites, and the Israelites come around, and he separate himself from them. What they thinking about? Oh, this cat wrong. The Most High sent us to him for the gospel. And he doing us like this? Would they be wrong in thinking that the gospel was wrong? Or that the vision that Cornelius got was wrong? Or that it didn't come from the Most High? Would they be wrong in that thinking? No. Because he just made the gospel of none effect. So when Paul is coming to check him and he said, I got to check you face to face, it's because of this. You being a hypocrite. You being an actor. You being a stage player. Over here, you hunky dory. Yo, what's up, my man? I know you're a little red in the face, bro, but you know you're my brother. Right? But then over here, man, I don't know this, man. Pink niggas over there, I don't know this, man. Right? That's absolutely wrong. Let's go back to Galatians chapter 2. Yep. Galatians 2 and pick it up at verse 12. Now watch what happens from verse 12 to verse 13. Exactly right. It caused them to fall off.
Galatians chapter 2 and verse
12. 2 and 12 again.
2 and 12. For before that certain came from James, he did eat with Gentiles, but when they were come, he withdrew and separated himself, fearing them which were of the circumcision. And the other Israelites disassembled likewise with him.
And the what?
The other Israelites disassembled likewise with him.
So the people that rode with Peter, the Israelites that was all communing with the Gentiles together, they like, well, Peter dipping, I'm dipping too. But this is the kicker. Keep reading.
It's so much that Barnabas.
It's so much that who?
Barnabas.
That Barnabas, the one that was rolling with Paul. That Barnabas did what?
Also was carried away with their disassimilation.
Barnabas started doing it too. He rolling with the guy that was rolling and dealing with the Gentiles, right? And he himself did. So not only could Peter have caused these Gentiles to fall away from the word, but he also caused other men that were disciples or apostles of Mashiach to partake in the same hypocrisy, the same acting, the same stage playing. So if Mashiach was to come down and come and deal with them and they were to be blamed, what would be their fate? Right? Keep reading.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly.
I saw that they what?
Walk not uprightly.
What does it mean to be upright? Right. Righteous. What is righteousness? That means they wasn't keeping the law at this particular point in time, because they were being respecter of persons. And in this case, hypocrites. Right? Read.
But when I saw that they walked not uprightly according to the truth of the good news, I said unto Peter before them, If thou, being an Israelite, livest after the manner of Gentiles,
After the manner of who?
after the manner of Gentiles,
Uh-huh.
and not as the Israelites, why compellest them, the Gentiles, to live as the Israelites?
Why would you come around them and tell them to be like you if you ain't gonna do nothing but turn around and do the same thing that they do? You being a hypocrite. He was being an actor, playing a role. The title of this lesson was, and the Academy Award goes to. Now, which one of us in here is going to receive the Academy Award? Because that's the only reward you're going to get. You get no cool points from the Most High for acting in this manner. You get no cool points from the Most High for professing to be godly and then turning around and being a sinner. You get no cool points for that. So now, jump over to Matthew chapter 5, verse 48.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 48. Be you therefore perfect.
Be therefore what?
Perfect. Even as your Father which is in Shamaim is perfect.
So be you therefore perfect or blameless like your Father in Shamaim is blameless, right? Jump up to verse 45. Verse 44, I'm sorry.
Verse 44.
43.
42. 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, increase them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that ye may be the children of your Father which is in Shamaim. For he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust.
Yes.
For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Not even the publicans. So
the publicans roll with the publicans.
Do not even the publicans so?
You know what I'm saying? Sinners roll with sinners. The Gentiles roll with the Gentiles. What type of light are you if you would do the same with them? Right? He told Abraham, through your seed, all the nations of the earth shall be what? Now, how in the world can you be a blessing or increase somebody else if you don't deal with it? I'll take it one further. You know how brothers say they keep the commandments? They love the Most High. They down for His word, the whole nine, right? I bet you they missed this. I bet you they missed this. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 10. I bet you they missed it. Deuteronomy 10 and 12. Brothers look at me, oh, you a coon. Right? You love your oppressors. You love the other nations. You follow what the book says.
Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel.
Oh, who?
Israel.
Now Israel what?
What do Yahuwah your Elohim require of you?
What's a requirement? What does he say to you? What do he what? What do he expect out of you, right? Read.
But to fear Yahuwah your Elohim, to walk in all his ways.
To do what?
To walk in all his ways.
Your ways.
His ways.
To walk in all whose ways?
His ways.
He wants you to walk in all of his ways. I'm about to hit y'all with a shocker, right? This is the one they're not going to read to you. Keep reading.
And to love him and to serve Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your soul.
So when you do his commandments and walk after his ways, that means that you're loving him, right? So if we profess that we love him, that means that we have to walk after his ways. He reads.
To keep the commandments of Yahuwah and his statutes, which I command you this day for your good.
For your who?
For your good.
Go ahead.
Behold, the Samaim and the Samaim of Samaims is Yahuwah's, thy Elohim, the earth also, with all therein is. Only Yahuwah have a delight in thy fathers to love them, and he chose their seed after them, even you above all people, as it is this day.
Yeah.
Circumcise therefore the foreskins of your heart.
Do what now?
Circumcise therefore the foreskins of your heart.
That's something on the inside of you that got to be done, right? Change your heart, change your mind, your way of thinking, right? Read.
And be no more stiff-necked.
Be no more what?
Stiff-necked.
Keep reading.
For Yahuwah your Elohim is Elohim of Elohims, and the master of masters, a great Elohim, a mighty and terrible, which regardeth not persons.
Which do what?
Which regardeth not persons.
Go ahead.
Nor taketh reward.
Here go the kicker right here. What do he do?
He do execute the judgment of the fatherless.
So he said he executes judgment of the fatherless, which means that you're supposed to do this, right? Walk after his ways. Read.
And the widow.
And the widow, and what?
And loves the stranger.
Oh, whoa. No, that we just put that in there. What do he do?
Loves the stranger.
Y'all ain't never read that one before, have y'all?
No.
Right? He said he loves the stranger. Do what?
In giving him food and raiment.
But you got people, like he said in Matthew the 23rd chapter, where the scribes and Pharisees are cut off the kingdom, shut off the kingdom for these people. He said he loved them. He told you to walk in whose ways?
His way.
His way. Read.
Love ye therefore the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt.
So when you were a stranger in the land of Egypt, he took care of you in there. And when them people switched up on you and they came wrong at you, what did he do to them? He punished them. Because his covenant with you is he gonna bless who bless you and curse who curse you. Everything else ain't got nothing to do with us. You know what I'm saying? Everything else ain't got nothing to do with us. Your job is to walk after his ways. But if you profess godliness, if you profess that you keep the commandments and that you love the Most High, but you leave out these particular things right here, you are being a what? Hypocrite. Because now you acting. I'll keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Screw them other nations. Man, I just read somewhere here where it said that he loved a stranger. You don't love a stranger? Oh man, that's a typo. We got to make sure, this is what we got to dig deep. We ain't trying to speak to the outward man. We trying to speak to the soul. Get Genesis chapter 50 and verse 20.
Verse 20?
Yep, verse 20. Actually, yeah, verse 20. So this is Joseph's brothers, right? They sent them, left him for dead, right? They thought he was dead. He then came back, showed them who he is. Look at what he said to them.
Genesis chapter 50 and verse 20. But as for you, you thought evil against me, but Elohim meant it unto good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive.
So us going through captivity was to save more people than died in our captivity. Us going into captivity, how many of us died? Bunch of us, right? But through us going into captivity, more people will be saved alive than who died in the captivity. Even though these people meant evil for us, it turned out to be a good thing. Because when our salvation comes, it's going to be great. It's going to be something this earth ain't never seen before. But if we wallow in our captivity and not get on the thing that he wants us to get on, what good are we? How can we be a light if we still got darkness in our heart? He said, the thing that you meant evil for me, y'all meant it for good, to save much people alive. Keep reading.
Verse 21. Now therefore fear you not.
Because he gonna what?
I will nourish you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spake kindly unto them.
Let's say he spake kindly unto them. It said it's basically saying he spoke to their heart. Do the words speak to your heart? I put one more on you. If you are professing that you in the truth, because this is what everybody do, right? I'm in the truth. 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 That's the first thing you say when people say, "Man, what you do? What religion you in? What's it?" Right? What you say to them? I'm in the truth. I'm in the truth. B said he don't have no religion. That's the season B. Early B was, man, I'm in the truth, dog. You need to know what the truth is. Truth is love, right? So when you say out of your mouth that you're in the truth, that means that you are in what? According to the scriptures, you in the law. If you ever break the law while you're professing to be in the truth, you become a what? Hypocrite. Hypocrite ain't nothing but a liar. Who are you lying to, though? That's the question. Do you come amongst the believers and put on a mask and say, yeah, I'm a believer. I got my friends all age. You know what I'm saying? I know what Deuteronomy 28 is. I know how to break down Matthew 5 and 17. I know how to show you that that the law ain't done away with. I know how to show you that you ain't supposed to eat pork. I know how to do all of that. But is it a front? Do you go back when you leave from here and go around your other folks, take your fringes off, take your head wraps off, take your garments off, and act like a heathen? Who are you pretending for? One of you is a liar. The one who's professing to be righteous is a liar, or the one who's pretending to be like everybody else is a liar. You got to figure that out on your own.
I like feeling strange in front of people, though.
How many of y'all felt like that?
Hate to be looked at as funny.
How many of y'all felt like that? I remember feeling like that before. Being around people and like, I got these friends. These friends don't even match my outfit, bro. Right? I was out and the dude said I looked like a biker because I had on freightas and I felt funny, like, yeah, look like a biker. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you want to tuck my joints in here, like, oh, a biker. Right? But you can't feel like that. Just like Peter shouldn't have felt like he couldn't say that he knew Mashiach. Just like he shouldn't have been able to get on a situation where he walking away from these Gentiles. And another thing, get Galatians chapter 6. Pick it up at the 3rd verse. Let's see something else right there. 6 and 3.
Galatians chapter 6, verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing.
When a man do what?
For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself.
Who he deceived?
Himself.
Who did Rachel Dozier, what's her name? Who she deceived? Herself. I'm a black woman.
Can you repeat that verse?
Read that again.
Book, Galatians what?
6 and 3. Read that again.
Galatians chapter 6 and verse 3. For if a man think himself to be something when he is nothing, he deceives himself.
So you know what a lot of brothers do? They come into this word, they see a couple videos on YouTube, and they automatically say, I'm a teacher. I'm an elder. You just deceived yourself, partner. You know what the book say about that? Jump over to Hebrews, the 5th chapter. Everybody, it looks so cool to be a teacher. But then it gets to a situation, read the Hebrews 5. 5 and 12.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12. For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again.
He said, when you think yourself to be a teacher, you have what?
Need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat.
Because these brothers get out here and they try to teach, oh man, these prophecies is getting ready to come to pass, and this is happening, this is happening. And then once you get ready to go and teach somebody and they ask you a question that you don't know the answer to, the first thing that they do is they fill it. Boom. Oh, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, so that's only nuclear weapons right there. That's only this, or that's only that, or that's only this, or that's only that. You know, when he say that we ain't gotta keep the law, that's you know, that's and they make something up. Because you need to be taught the law again. You have no understanding of what it's saying, but you gonna go out and you gonna try to teach people, and you gonna be somebody's detriment. You know what I'm saying? You're being a hypocrite. You professing yourself to be something that you're not. You being a hypocrite.
I want to be deep, man. It's deep doing this stuff,
right? You look at people teaching, you like, man, this is the coolest thing in the world. Right? But they don't realize this part. Get James chapter 3.
Verse 13.
Oh, go ahead.
For everyone that uses milk is unskillful in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe.
He is a what?
A babe.
But they elders out here, though. Right? You an elder out here because you teaching people. But you don't realize that you actually don't know what you're teaching. What we're going to now is James 3 and 1. They don't realize this part of it, though. Because it looked good to do, because it seemed cool to do, they don't realize that it's another side to this. James 3 and 1.
James chapter 3 and verse 1. My brethren, be not many masters.
Be not many what?
Masters.
That word is G1320. What does that word mean?
A teacher.
Be not many what?
Teachers.
Be not many teachers. Go back. It say, be not many teachers. Read.
Knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation.
Whoa. What do that mean? Anybody? It's more pressure. Judgment coming down harder on you. Why? Because you're supposed to know. So when Quab taught that lesson last week, it was dealing with hypocrites too. And it said, except your righteousness exceed the righteousness of who? Because they were sticklers for the law. They knew it. But they were being what? Hypocrites. So you're going to go out, you're going to try to teach somebody something that you don't know. And it be looked at as wrong, or it come to find out that it's wrong. Guess who got to pay for that? You. Not only do you got to pay for it for you, but you got to pay for it for the person that you taught it to. That's what, that ain't the glorious part. Nobody look at that part. But you being something that you're not. That's being a hypocrite. Matthew chapter 23, pick it up at the first verse. Yep.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
The scribes and the Pharisees do what?
Sit in Moses' seat.
They sit in Moses' seat. Read.
All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works. For they say and do not.
So he's showing you that they're what? Hypocrites. Read.
For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers.
So if these hypocrites, scribes and Pharisees, are hypocrites here in the New Testament, you tell me this concept is not in the Old Testament? Let's see. Get Jeremiah chapter 23. Jeremiah chapter 23. Pick it up at verse 11.
Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 11. For both prophet and priest are profane.
It said prophet and who?
Prophet and priest
Are what?
are profane.
What does it mean to be profane? Defiled, right? Now, a priest comes from the succession of Aharon. What is the priest's job? Make atonement for sin. What else? Sacrificing and basically being the middleman between us and the Most High. Should there be a such thing as a profane priest? Because that would mean that the priest at that point in time would be being a what? A hypocrite. Let's look at another situation. Big boss David, right? Remember, Quad went over that joint and said, judge not that you be not judged, right? He done took this man's wife, slept with her, had him killed. Next thing we know, Nathan come to him. Hey, David, man, this man over here did A, B, C, and D. Kill him! Kill him right now. I'll kill him myself. Right? You that man. Let me talk to him. Right? The tone start to change. You showing yourself to be a hypocrite because you professing something that you're not. Or when you younger, I hope this was when y'all was younger. And you're around your homeboys and y'all telling them war stories, right? Hey man, he rolled up on me. Wow, blast that fool. What? Right? But wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. You being a hypocrite. Right? Mashiach said he made himself of no reputation, but you out here telling people that I woke up 3,000 people. I baptized 150 people last month. You being a hypocrite. Go ahead. You tell them they ain't baptized nobody. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 23. Pick it up at verse pick it up at verse 15. Actually, verse 29.
Matthew chapter 23, verse 29. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of righteousness.
How many of us have committed sin since we knew the truth? Right? So he says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, right? How many of us have said, man, if that was me back then, I wouldn't have never did the Most High like that. Said that before. If that was me back then, I would have never killed no prophets. Elijah would have came up on me showing me all these miracles and this and that, man, I would have been straight. Next question. Same question. How many of us committed sin after we knew the truth? Same thing. Let's see the next verse.
And say, If we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets.
Same thing we say, right? Man, I would have never killed off no prophet. I would have kept the commandments. I'd have seen all of this stuff and that. You are not even held to the standard where you're killed for committing sin, and you can't restrain yourself now. How much more so if you had a group of people tell, man, you're going to kill them with us. You're going to conform. Right? Next verse.
Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you generation of vipers. How can you escape the damnation of hell?
He said, how you going to escape if you being a hypocrite? This whole chapter right here is talking about hypocrites. So I'm going to ask y'all again. Does it matter what situation that you being a hypocrite on? That's right, BK. Does it matter in what situation you being a stage player for? No. No way, shape, or form can you be a hypocrite and make it out alive with the Most High. None. Drop down to verse 34.
Verse 34. Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city. So
you got a lot of people who read the scriptures who say they believe it and say, I don't rock with Paul. He a liar. If you believe this book, you believe he sent them, right? Oh, he a liar. You ain't even have to kill Paul for you to kill Paul. You become one of those same people that would have persecuted Paul and shed his blood. Read.
Verse 35. That upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, son of Barchias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto you, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not. Behold, your house is left unto you desolate.
He said, your house is left unto you what?
Desolate.
This whole chapter is talking about who? Hypocrites, right? Go back to Job chapter 15 and verse 34. So remember, when you commit a sin, and you know that you committing a sin, and you know what you're doing, you fall into the category of being hypocrite. Job 15, verse 34. He said, all of those things that those scribes and Pharisees did when he called them hypocrites, he said their house is going to end up being desolate. Let's go back. Job 15, 34.
Job chapter 15, verse 34. For the congregation of the hypocrites shall be desolate.
Shall be what?
Desolate. And fire shall consume the tabernacles of bribery.
Yeah.
They conceive mischief and bring forth vanity.
They conceive mischief, bring forth vanity, and what?
And their belly prepareth deceit.
Their belly prepare what?
Deceit.
When you pretending to be somebody you not, who you doing it for? Doing it for somebody else. It ain't never really for you. It's because you're doing it for somebody else to see you in a different light. You, the only reason you would come in here and act righteous when you know you was wilding last night is so we wouldn't think you was wilding last night. That's the only reason. When you at the crib, ain't no reason for you to put no fringes on and be like, oh yeah, Deuteronomy chapter. No, because you ain't got a front for yourself. The only reason you would come in here in front like that is because you don't want nobody in here to know what you was doing. Galatians chapter 6 and verse 6. I mean, Ephesians 6 and 6.
Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 6. Not with eye service as men pleasers.
As what?
As men pleasers.
Not with eye service as men pleasers. That's one of the things that it was talking about, people that want to pretend. Not with eye service. You doing it for other people. I don't want my people to look at me all crazy, so I'm going to pretend. I ain't really going to drink with them. I'm only going to drink one. But I'm going to act like I'm faded like everybody else. Right? You get in the car, you be like, man, you good. Right? I'm not really going to be over here doing this and doing that, but I can still be over here and kick it though. You a hypocrite. You're being somebody that you're not. Because the people that you're around only know you for what they know you are when you're around them. They don't know you for this side over here. You add darkness to darkness. Read that verse again.
Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of a Mashiach, doing the will of Elohim from the heart.
From where?
From the heart.
You got to do it from the heart. And if you're doing it from the heart, it ain't going to be nothing that's going to be there to stop you from being that person around everybody you go around. But if you only doing it because it's a fad or it seemed like the right thing to do, the first chance you get, the first time something don't feel right to you, the first time you get shaken, you're going to fold. Hypocrites is going to burn just like the prophet. Speaking of, the only reason that you become a hypocrite is because of your pride. That's the only reason. Keep going back to this pride stuff, right? The only reason you become a hypocrite is because you're too proud to be who you are. Oh, man, I don't want them to be saying this and saying that. It's gonna hurt my pride. Let me act like this. Let me act like that. Revelation chapter 21. Pick it up at verse 7. We're going to close it off on this. Remember, being a hypocrite at the end of the day is just being a liar. That's all it boiled down to. You lying, but you got to figure out who you lying to and how you going to stop. Revelation 21:7.
Revelations chapter 21, verse 7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things.
He that do what?
Overcome shall inherit all things.
I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. You've been taught your whole life how to pretend to be something that you're not. When your parents got on the phone with them bill collectors, they changed up their whole tone, didn't they? Yes, I am such and such. Back on straight. Right? They put the papers together like this. Yeah, I see right here on the truck. Right? You taught how to be something that you're not. Right?
Yes, this is he. This is he.
Your house dirty all the time, and then when company come over, you gotta clean that stuff up. Right? And the first thing your child say to you is, well, why we gotta act like this in front of everybody else? You've been taught it your whole life. You've been taught how to fit in your whole life. Now it's time to switch it up. Because now you know who actually coming. He don't, if this man come down here and you looked at as a person that's blamed, as opposed to I can't stop laughing. That's what hit home. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right? If you're blamed when he get down here because you're a hypocrite, you're going to find yourself in desolation. Sodom and Gomorrah is desolate right now. Yes? But before it got desolate, what had to take place there? It had to burn. So let's see what it says. Revelation 21:7.
Revelations 21:7. He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and the murderers, and the whoremongers, and the sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars.
And who?
All liars.
When you're being a hypocrite, you lying. All liars will what?
Shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
So again, it was some stuff that I left out. I was kind of in a different space today, but remember, being a hypocrite ain't where it's at. Take off the mask, put down the script, not the scriptures. Put down the script. Stop being an actor and do this thing for real. Because you can't fool the Most High. He said everything is naked before his sight. You can't fool him. You can't act like you really doing this when you really not. Because he said, I searched the heart. I'm not looking at what you're doing on the outside. I searched the heart.
Good. He's talking about this whole hypocrite thing. It's very, very easy to slip off into it without you even thinking about it. All right. So say, for instance, if there were another race of person in the class, right? And everybody got ready to take a picture. And you know when that picture go on Facebook, that the people from the camps is going to have a field day. Look at them coons with them people. And you think about it for a second and you say, let me get out the picture. Right? You just did it. Because you acting. Going to a different one. I was at a game last week, right? I couldn't even enjoy it because I saw all the fake around, everything from the people, from the players to the whole atmosphere. But I got this overwhelming pressure that was on me. So George Bush Sr. died, right? And they said, we'll have everybody stand to their feet because the 41st president, whatever president died. We want everyone to stand for this and also remain standing for the national anthem. So I don't know how many thousands of people in this place, but it's thousands in there. And I believe that I'm the only one that's sitting down, right? And I'm looking around me at the thousands around me, and I'm like, wow. And I'm thinking to myself, are they looking down at me like, nigga, get up, right? So this pressure on me, overwhelming. Just stand up. Don't be an oddball. Get up. Get up. So they singing the anthem, and I'm like, please get it over with. Please just get it over with. Now, if I would have got up. So now when I come and tell my own children, don't stand up for it in class, right? I got that feeling like, oh my goodness. But it was pressure on me. So imagine Daniel and the boys, right? When they said that everybody need to stand up and worship the statue, right? And thousands of people all get down on their face and worship. And only them three are standing up. And everybody is like, Look, they ain't getting down. So what are you gonna get down and I'm just acting the Most High know?
Yep.
He know.
I'm really praying to the Most High.
Exactly.
He ain't bowing down here.
If you do it, if you cave into the pressure, the hypocrisy just took you. Just that quick and just that easy. And it wasn't even nobody trying to threaten me. But I felt like they was. So imagine being on that day when they coming through with that sword. Get down, worship the thing, take the mark. Will you cave in quick?
He said it'll deceive it almost will deceive the very elect. So if you can't even get around the hypocrisy that you face with right now with mortal beings, and all you being threatened with is people's opinion, how are you going to stand in that day when that man got them swords on you? Say Allah died. Well, you know, Allah really only means God, so Allah. Yeah, I'm really talking about you though, you know. I don't want you at that point. That's how he gonna feel. Yep.
Don't matter as long as you don't do it.
Galatians 2, where Paul was like, and these men who thought themselves to be something, it didn't matter to me because the Most High not a respecter of persons. He basically was like, I don't care who they are. They don't mean nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what they think, it shouldn't have any bearing on what you do. That's the whole thing about this. We look at people and how they look at us, and our pride gets to us, and we want to be looked at in a certain light. And because we want to be looked at in a certain light, we go to the end of the lengths to be looked at like that. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just being ourselves. Some people just don't believe the book. Some people just don't believe the word. But if that's the case, don't hypocrite your way out, because you're going to stop yourself from being able to do some of that fun stuff you want to do. Listen. Gotcha. Don't try not to go to hell. Well, don't try not to burn. That makes sense? Don't try not to get to the second death. Because if you're going to try and still be doing what you're doing over here, you might as well just went full on, because he said lukewarm, he ain't taking it. It's either the one or the other. Any more questions? We got some on the chat, but do we got any more here? Oh, word. It says, how would you approach a congregation that pushes Mashiach and the Most High being the same, even when you've shown scriptures that they are not? How would you approach a congregation?
Well,
how would you approach a congregation that pushes Mashiach and the Most High being the same, even though you've shown them scriptures that they're not?
well, I know the one who teach that, and it's scripts that he tell you that you basically you show somebody one or two times, and then you dust your feet off with it. So the only reason why you keep going back and forth, that's when pride takes over, is because now I got to convince you of what I want you to get. And it's clear certain people want to follow what they want to follow. Even when you show them, it doesn't make sense anymore. It's just like a script can say something flat out, and somebody say, but I know it say that, but I don't know, man. Right there is the cue. Okay, you can believe as you will, and I'm gonna keep it moving. It's just that simple. Only reason why you're gonna keep arguing back and forth is because your pride is on the line, and you want to prove the person wrong and get this argument done. Other than that, keep it moving.
Does how long you've been in the scripture matter? Every time a so-called rabbi talks, he brings up how long he's been studying something. Okay. It's a give and take, because you could be studying the scriptures wrong for 20 years and it don't mean nothing. Where it matters is if you're going to go and teach what you're studying. You got to know whether it's right or whether it's wrong. So a person may get in and they find out that we got to keep the commandments, right? But they're not studied enough to answer all of the questions that's going to come at them about us still having to keep the commandments. So when they go out and teach this thing, they end up being somebody's detriment as opposed to their benefit. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times you only get one opportunity to show people the Most High and his greatness. A lot of time, I'm not saying every time, but a lot of time, you only get one time. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want that one time to cause them to, for you preaching the word, to cause them to go back into something they shouldn't be into because you didn't know what you was talking about.
So off the rips, when people do the whole, I've been in this thing for 25 years, he's saying it in a bragging way. It's a prideful way off the rip, which is off the top. So off the rip, you already in a bragging way, which is showing your pride, right? So you've been studying it for 20, 25 years, but everything been wrong. So it doesn't matter that you've been doing it for 20, 25, 30 years, and that your beard is fully gray, and that your hair is this, and you got on a garment. It doesn't matter, right? Read that. Read this Psalms.
Psalms 119, I'll pick it up at verse 97. Oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all the day. Though through your commandments have made me wiser than my enemies.
Has made you what?
Wiser than my enemies.
Go ahead.
But they are ever with me. I have more understanding than all of my teachers.
Then what?
Than all of my teachers.
So the same people that say, I taught you. Right here, he's saying, I got more understanding than all my teachers. This means that this person here, understanding is greater, even though you supposed to taught him. So just because you've been doing it for so long, it doesn't matter if it wasn't in the right light. Which we got a whole bunch of the camp people who say this exact same thing. I've been doing this, boy. You was in church and I was doing this. I done woke up all these people and you come along, it don't matter. It's wrong.
It says, I have more understanding than all my teachers, for your testimonies are my meditation. I understand more than the ancients because I kept your precepts.
Kept what?
Because I keep your precepts.
So they think that a precept is just jumping from place to place and place to place. When he says, read that one more time.
I understand more than the ancients because I keep your precepts.
Because I keep what?
Your precepts.
Do that mean just jumping all over the place?
No.
I keep your what?
Commandments.
Commandments. That's what this is talking about. So all that time studying it over a long period of time, if you actually studying it, yes, that would be wise. But if you're studying it wrong, doesn't matter how long you've been doing it.
Let's see. Toraya. Benjamin Israel said, "This is what I call battle tested. For the Most High, don't trip. He ain't through with me yet." No doubt. It says in 1 Corinthians 8, can you explain what Paul meant about food sacrificed to idols, whether it was good or bad?
Where is it at?
1 Corinthians chapter 8. So are you referring to like are you asking is what he's saying about the food sacrificed to idols basically like kind of rephrase the question. I think I know where you're going with it, but just rephrase it if you can. Romans 14. That's this one is, I think they're basically asking that. I'm waiting on them to read. It says whether good or bad to eat. I didn't even see that. Whether it's good or bad to eat. Hold on one moment.
read it in this context. What's the what is that question for one time?
It says in 1 Corinthians 8, can you explain what Paul means about food sacrificed to idols, whether it was good or bad, or whether it's good or bad to eat them?
But everyone has knowledge. Some people are so accustomed to idolatry that when they eat food that has been offered to a idol, their conscience becomes contaminated because it is eaten.
Y'all bear with us one moment.
Yeah.
Basically saying if your conscience is telling you not to, don't do it. And if it's other around you don't want you to do it, don't do it.
Here, read it from a different version. Oh, it's something about being accustomed to idols in former times. This idol sacrifice, and your conscience will become weak.
He said, from what I was looking at, he said that people that understand it's a very asking question to take the food off of them. Certain things, He said, but take that this power is yours does not give cause for trouble to the food. But let us see this. Take the food and possess in the house of the enemy. Will it not give them to see his people the high will that you may take care of them? And so to them now that you are called to your purpose. I agree with that. Yeah. All right, so when dealing with what Paul is saying as far as these images and these idols, from what I'm looking at, pick it up at verse 1.
Chapter 1?
8 more.
1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 1. Now as touching things offered unto idols, we know that we all have knowledge. Knowledge puffeth up, but charity edifieth.
So he said, when we look the whole thing about what he was talking about to the people of Corinth at this point is the eating of things sacrificed to idols, right? He said we all got knowledge, but knowledge gonna puff you up. It's gonna bring that pride to you. He opened with this because of this. Verse 2.
And if any man think that he knoweth anything, he knoweth nothing, yet as he ought to know.
Pick it up at verse 4.
Verse 4. As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing.
So he said the knowledge that he possessed, that we possess. So he's speaking as like not just a regular minded individual, right? But having a different type of knowledge. He said, we know that idols are nothing. They mean nothing. They ain't nothing. It's just like in Jeremiah 10. He said these things neither walk nor do they speak, right? Idols are nothing, right? Read.
As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world, and that there is none other Elohim but one.
So we know that it's only the Father, right? Read. We know he's supreme. Go ahead.
For though there be that are called gods, whether in the heavens or in the earth, as there be gods many and lords many.
He said, but we also know that a lot of people reckon other gods and give them names. This God is this God is this Lord of this Lord of that. We know that it's one, but we know that people in the earth call everything in the world a God, right? Go ahead.
But to us there is but one God, the Father of whom are all things, and we are in him, and one Master Yahushua HaMashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. Howbeit, there is not in every man that knowledge.
So listen, everybody don't understand the fact that there's only the Most High Mashiach. Everybody don't get that. You know what I'm saying? So they think, so you got people who will say, you got the Most High, then you got Mashiach, but Buddha is a God. Even though this thing is an idol and it don't move and it don't speak, they still think that this thing got some type of power, right? Or it holds some type of weight, right? And he like, well, we don't think that. We know that it's only the Most High, he is supreme, right? Read.
For some with conscience of the idol unto their hour eat as it a thing offered unto an idol.
So he says now the people with that knowledge that these other gods actually hold weight in some type of capacity, they don't eat of the things that pertain to those idols, right? So they might go to a Chinese restaurant and see a Buddha and be like, I can't eat here because it's a Buddha here. You know what I'm saying? They might go into an Italian restaurant and say, I can't eat no noodles here because they got a picture of the fake Messiah on the wall. And it's starting to make sense? So these people won't go into these places and eat from these places because of that type of mindset, right? Go ahead.
And their conscience being weak.
And their conscience being what?
Being weak.
Because they don't have the knowledge that those things mean absolutely nothing. So they have a weak conscience, right? Not saying that that's a bad thing. Follow what he said. He's not saying that it's a bad thing. He just said because their knowledge is not where your knowledge may be, that it's a weak conscience, right? Read.
Being weak is defiled. But meat commendeth us not to Elohim, for neither if we eat are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse.
So if you go to a Chinese restaurant, you eat the food, there's a Buddha on the wall, you not no better than nobody that don't go and eat them. And just like somebody else ain't no better because they don't eat from these restaurants and you do. Nobody is better for either one. But keep reading.
But take heed, lest by any means this freedom of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak.
So he said, now this is a power that you hold. Because if you're around people that are in the word with you, and their mind is if you go in there and eat from that place, then it's like you worshiping that God, right? If you go in there and you eat of this or that, you're gonna make them think that it's okay to worship other gods because that's all they know. That makes sense? Read.
But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak.
So now you got a responsibility. So if you're around people like that, right? If me and my man's is going out to eat, and I know that this is a way that he feel, I'm not about to go up in that Chinese restaurant and get nothing to eat because he gonna think, what's up with that, right? Or just think about how when the as far as how the days are reckoned, right? And you started doing stuff opposite of what everybody been taught, and you're around somebody that's in that type of lifestyle, right? They would think that it's okay to break the Shabbat because they don't have the understanding that the Shabbat don't start when they think the Shabbat start. That makes sense? So they thinking like, oh man, this brother just breaking the Shabbat. But that's not the case. They just don't have that understanding. Read.
But take heed, lest by any means, verse 10, for if any man see you, which has knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols? And through thy knowledge shall the weak brother perish, for whom Hamashiach died.
So he said, because you had the opportunity not to go and do that thing, even though it wasn't necessarily wrong, if that brother falls off because you knew that that's how he was feeling, but you did it anyway, and he started going and he started worshiping these other gods, that fall on you now. You created a stumbling block in front of him. Go ahead.
But when you sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, you sin against the Mashiach. Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh.
He says, so if this is what's going to cause him to stumble, when I'm with this brother, I'm not about to do that. Because I don't want to put up a stumbling block. Every man is going to receive the knowledge in their age, in that time that the Most High revealed it to him. So if that man is thinking in that way right now, that don't mean you go and boastfully do what you want to do to create this stumbling block before him. Go ahead.
Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I will eat no flesh while the world standeth, lest I make my brother to offend.
Okay, so does that make sense? Everybody in here, that makes sense to everybody in here? Okay.
So that applies like for holidays and stuff. Same concept. So, stuff like that. And you don't do it on Christmas and not like that, but maybe a few days later it's leftovers. You know what I'm saying? It's similar, but the thing of it is, you know, if people say, well, you don't supposed to be doing that. You know, for instance, where I come from, where, you know, you go good, you're supposed to be dealing with all that kind of stuff. And they teach the same thing, which you can say go by scripture just like that. But if it'll start with somebody, see, you don't protect, you know, even if it's 3 or 4 days old, don't touch it. If it'll start with somebody in the house.
Indeed. Absolutely.
See, you ate that. You ate that turkey. See, I knew it.
Exactly.
Man, my grandma made some pie. I know my grandma pie be hit.
Right.
I couldn't even get none. But that's just what he's saying. Don't put that stumbling block in front of your brother. Right. It said, is it wrong to use a teacher's position on the flat earth as a tool of discernment? Nope. As long as it's according to the scripture. As long as it's according to scripture. No, that right. Paul never clarified if would still eat of the food sacrificed to idols, but he'll stop so his brothers won't fall victim.
I'm saying if he's by himself, the idol is nothing.
Right.
But if he in front of his people that's going to cause a stumbling block, then he won't do it. So basically, he's denying himself when he's with his people. But if they not around, it's no biggie.
No doubt. On the part of food sacrificed to idols, is that what Barnabas and others did when Peter was being a hypocrite and they followed him? Nope. Nope. They was in there just having regular meals. Remember, these people have been converted, the ones that he was going to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And they was having regular meals. They was kicking it just on the regular. And when the people of the circumcision came around, they dipped off because of what these people would think. You know what I'm saying? Not that they were sitting down eating stuff sacrificed to idols. Toraya. I think that is everything in the Chizak. Are we good in here? All right. With that, we say shalom.
Got our lines, love it.
Oh, you love it, you hate it. Don't do it again. Don't teach nothing like that no more. Bring that back next year. What you want to do? Oh, bring it back. Sure, we could have did a part 2. I couldn't think of. I couldn't remind it. I've been stretching, bro. My legs stretching. My wife said her legs is just now starting to get that better. Stretching. Oh man, I forgot all about it. You know what I'm saying? So like family up, get up out there. Totally slipped my mind. No, well, DTE was supposed to come out. They don't come tonight.
Get out there. Go over there.
If they don't come tonight, so I have to try to figure out set it up. No,
You know
it almost took the plunder.
almost finished them off.
Right. No, the kid.
That little boy over there, I don't know who he is.
I don't know, son. All right, all minds clear? Any prayer requests? Lift up their names. Any prayer requests?
Uncle Timmy.
Uncle Kevin.
Uncle Timmy.
Timmy.
Future careers.
Future careers. Same thing. The cow. Same thing. Uncle Kevin. Uncle Timmy. Future careers. All right, we take it from here.
I'm about to say you pray.
No. Holding it down for you, man.
Father Yah, we stand before you, Father, with one heart, Father, on one accord, Father, asking that you would incline your ear unto our words, Father, accept our petition, Father, and grant us the desires of our heart, Father. You heard the names that were given. You heard the desires that were given, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that you would look past our faults to meet our needs, Father. That you would uplift those people who are in need of prayer, Father, who are in need of healing, Father, who are in need of restoration, Father. We pray and ask, Father, that you would make clear the steps in the path that we need to take, Father, in order to be in right standing with you, Father. That you will order our steps and be a light unto us, Father, so that we can walk towards you, Father, understanding that whatever path that we choose, Father, that the choice is ours, Father, but you would have us to choose you, Father, choose life. Your word says, Father. We ask right now that you would make that decision clear unto us right now, Father. We pray for each and every person in this room, Father, that you would continue to enlighten us according to your word, continue to help us to be diligent in our studies, Father. Your word says that you have not because we ask not. And that if any lack wisdom, let him ask it, Father. And we ask that you would bestow and impart wisdom upon each and every person, Father. That you would allow us to make our decisions based on wisdom according to your word, Father. That you would allow your Ruach, Father, to be with us, Father, to flow through us, Father. Let us be vessels for your word to flow through, to bring a word of power and encouragement and strength and life unto your people, Father. All these things, Father, we pray and we give thanks, Father. And we ask, Father, that you would help us, Father, to be that one person, to be one way, Father, all the time, not ever falling into that hypocrite status, Father, that we would be the same way all the time, Father. And that's the way that you would have us to be, Father, righteous, upstanding, standing stiff for your word, Father. All these things we pray and we give thanks for. Shem Yehoah Benkaya Hoshua Hamashiach Ruach HaKodesh. So be it. Abinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Abinu Shabbat Shemayim.
Ikado. Shemka. Tabo. Makutka. Yease. Ratsonka. Baaretz. Kasher. Nasha. Bashemayim. Tain Lanu. Hayom. Lekin. Hikanu. Uslat. Lanu. Eight. Ashmatenu. Kasher. Sokin. Adaknu. Lasher. Ashmu, Lanu, Wa'al, Tabinu, Lede, Masa, Ki, In, Hasalanu, Min, Ra, Ki, Raka, Hamam Laka, Wahagibora, Wahati Fere, Lome, Ulami.
So be it. Hallelujah. Be one way. Stop sign. One way stop sign.
One way sign.
Yeah, one way sign.